Hey, y'all, welcome to the Indiana Jones podcast. I'm your host, Justin Jones. I'll always be bringing the side of the movie screen of just watching as a fan of movies. And so I have a heart of just talking about movies. I love movies. I've loved them since I was a little kid. I'm 50 now. So there is a vast array of experience I have with just watching and being a fan. But one of the things that happens when you're a fan of a movie is you forget the other side of the screen. You forget kind of what they go through to put that scene and that story in front of you. And so sometimes on our end, it can be easier to be negative. It could be easier to be critical. So what I wanted to do is just have some fun where we can talk our love of movies. We can be passionate, and we can talk about the pros and the cons, the movies we love, the movies we hate. But by bringing in a guest who's been in the trenches on the other side, we can get both sides of the screen's perspective. And they can also share why they love movies, what got them into the business. And so a lot of the guests will always be from an independent filmmaker side point, those who have done small projects, who have done short stories, who have just done film competitions, things like that. Today's guest is going to be Jeff Hamm. Jeff Hamm and I went to college together years ago. He has been in film. He has a ton of credits under his belt on IMDb. He has over 7 awards that he's won with short films and things like that. He runs the gamut. He has done cinematography. He has done production, writing, producing, sound. He even has an acting credit. So he has worn a lot of hats when it comes to smaller films, short stories, low budgeted that he's had to deal with. And so, Jeff, just welcome to the show and thank you so much for being a guest.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to preface this. I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but it's definitely more than 7 awards. I just got tired of updating my IMDb on it.
Okay, hey man, I am quite all right with, you have put in the work, and I do not want to do anything
Yeah,
that
no, you're
belittles
good.
or says, oh, it was just 7.
No,
Okay,
no,
so I
we
don't know.
we
So
we have a lot. We have a lot of credits up there. I've done 3 feature films. One of them's already out, and then one will come out a little bit. Actually, 2 of them will come out later this year. So I've got 2 features coming out this year. I've been greenlit for a 4th one, which I'm excited about. We'll start
awesome.
writing, and that is slated to shoot in South Carolina next year. Can't talk too much about that, but it's going to be a pretty amazing story. And then also greenlit for a TV series that, right now it's going through. We got contracts with the lawyers and doing the whole funding and investor thing right now. So when that kicks off, man, it's a good time to be in the industry for sure.
Yeah, I know you had said this is a busy season for you, so you have a lot going on. So I appreciate the time that you're taking with me. And we're going to get into one of your big projects that you're really excited about. We're going to promote this project today. We're going to talk about this film that you have coming out. But before we do, I want to build a little backstory. And so some of us who are fans, like we'll see something on a Prime Video or a Tubi, and we might go, well, this wasn't a good quality, or we just didn't like the story or whatever like that. Well, sometimes it's just
Mhm.
good to know the backstory of the people who are involved and things like that. So I want to kind of build Jeff's origin story before we get into this really cool movie that he's got called Pickleball. And so, Jeff, what is something when you were a child, what is a core memory, something that just sticks in your mind when it comes to a film or a show or a cartoon that just made you just fall in love and want more of that? Do you have something in mind?
I do. So it's pretty crazy because I've been thinking about this for a while. It's like, where did this, passion to get into movies comes from? And and I think it was like when you and I were talking on the Hollywood podcast, I didn't really have an answer. I couldn't think of it. But the other day I was just I think I watched a TikTok about a movie that really sparked my interest in movie making when I was a kid, and it's Hook.
Oh, yeah.
The just
Looky, looky. I
that
got hooky,
movie.
hooky.
Yeah, dude, that movie was like everything about that movie, like just because it's like it's pure cinema, right? It throws you into a completely different world, completely different universe. It's pirates, it's mermaids, it's flying Peter Pan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the crazy stuff. When I was in 5th grade, I was so into this movie. I remember for a UIL competition, which is competition that schools have, I wrote the second part to Hook. And my mom still has it somewhere, but I wrote it in story form, but it reads out like a movie script. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
But I remember like really getting into that. Like, I really want to make Hook 2 one day where the kids have to go back and, do all this stuff. And it was pretty funny, but yeah, that's what really kind of got me into, like, I was always into movies growing up. I spent so much time with my grandfather. We watched movies like Blazing Saddles, all
Yeah.
the Star Wars. We had like debates over because, like, I'm born in 1984. When did the prequels come out? 1, 2, and 3? Was it like mid
Well,
90s or something like that?
70s, and then I think 70s, and then last, a Return of the Jedi, I wanna say is right there around 83, 84, 85, somewhere around
No,
there,
but
because
what I
I
mean
was
is 1, 2, and 3. When did those come out?
I think those were
Phantom
late
Menace.
90s, right? Right,
Yeah, like
late
late
90s,
90s. So
mid?
so my grandfather and I had this debate because we would watch A New Hope and the scroll would come up and it said episode 4. And I told him, I said, "This isn't the first one, Didi." Like my grandfather's name was Didi, and that's what I called him. And I was like, "This isn't the first one. This is episode 4. Where are the other 3?" And he was like, "No, this is the first one. This is the only like this. There's only 3." I was like, "But then why does it say episode 4?"
Yeah.
And we got
Well,
into this
actually,
this debate, and then when episode 1 was announced, we were like, "Oh my gosh, we get to watch the first 3 now." And I think I watched the first 3 before he passed away. All 3 of them came out. He passed away not long after the 3rd one came out. So we got to watch at least 1 through 6 together. But yeah, we were big into Star Wars, not so much into Star Trek. I think, there
okay.
was a little too much talking going on there. We need some more lightsaber action, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 you weren't smart enough for, Star Trek? No, just
No, no,
joking.
I wasn't intelligent at all. I was definitely I was definitely on the active side of I mean, Trek doesn't sound nearly as fun as war, so you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. That's true. That's true. Now, when it comes to Hook, so I'm kind of curious. Did you have like a fun little name like Hooked or Rehooked, or
No,
did you
just
have like
Hook 2.
just Hook Two? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So the rise of Rufio, you brought Rufio back, I
No,
hope.
Ru
So
no, Rufio was dead in my
yeah, you couldn't
story.
bring. I didn't know. So from that movie, is that the movie that got it going? Or when you look back, you're like, this started my love, this time you had with Dee Dee, this time you had with family watching these movies. Did you just keep immersing yourself in movies? And then there was one that stuck out that made you say, I want to be a filmmaker, or I want to be an official writer. Like, what was the first thing? Was it writing like you did with Hook 2? Was it you wanted to be the actor, or was it always like, I want to create the whole thing? Like, where is that for you in the beginning?
I don't think I ever really wanted to be the actor, but
Okay.
as I progressed like in my career, because I was a professional musician before this, and as I started really finding a love for like cinematography and shots and like basically painting pictures with a camera, like things like that. So I started studying cinematography and lighting and all these things, and I got my first job on a feature film as an editor. So I edited, the project, which if you know anything about the project, there's like 3 main pillars to storytelling, right? There's the
Okay.
writing process, there's the production, which
Hmm.
that's where the cinematographer is like the key player there, and then there's the editing. And the story, that's where they say the story is told 3 times. It's told in
Okay.
pre-production, it's told in production, and it's told in post-production, but the last person that touches it is the editor.
Okay.
So I had this, always wanted to be a director. I mean, some of my favorite directors, I'm more of a classic kind of guy. I love Ron Howard, I love Steven Spielberg, like all of
Yeah.
the like I think like when I went back and watched like the behind the scenes on Jurassic Park, like that was like just the collaboration between all the VFX artists pushing the boundaries on what was possible visually. Things like that really got my attention, and the development of like and being able to do something that nobody had ever done before. I always tell people when I go on a film set, I want to find a shot or a moment that nobody has ever seen on screen before. And
Okay.
so that's how I approach everything in the movie filmmaking industry. It's hard because there's so much content out there right now, but we do some super creative things. But yeah, that's
No, I appreciate that. And so you go from this transition in your life where you see this, you want to do this, you're writing, you're doing these things. You just have so many hats, on. When I look at like your page, and we've talked in the past, you've had me on your Howdy Wood podcast. So everybody listening, Jeff does have his own podcast called the Howdy Wood Podcast. And so we got to talk, and then we turned it off. And we talked probably way more afterwards than we
I
actually
think we
did on
did, yeah.
camera. So yeah, we had a really good conversation. We were like, oh man, we wish we had kept recording. And I know you just have so many different hats that you've worn. Was it the editing, or now that you've been in and you've got so many things and you've done so many different things, is there now the one hat, and this is just, Dustin, this is my baby, this is what I want to do moving forward? Or you still kind of have that itch for going back to editing or
Yeah.
sound, or okay,
I
so
don't
what you
have
got? Okay.
I definitely do not have the itch to go back to editing. Actually, what's great is, we've been able to build a team around me, with a lot of the projects and, have so many coming in at this time that I'm on more of the development side, which would be the producing, the writing, helping, make sure all the pieces are in place for the production to be successful. And then also directing, I get to direct at least 1 to 2 a year. The moment I realized I needed to get post-production off my plate, I think one of my good buddies, he's a producer. He calls it separation of church and state. If as a director, you're also editing, you are not paying attention to the things that everybody else can notice. Like you don't see your own flaws. You don't see your own, you don't see when your own pants are down, essentially. You know what I mean? Like somebody's got
Yeah.
to tell you this edit doesn't work the way you think it works. And so that's what I've been doing lately. So we got this horror movie called Santa's List that's coming out later this year. And I've been able to I got it to a rough cut and then was able to pass it off to a really great editor up in Minnesota, and she's gonna crush it. She's been like a part of the process with me from the very beginning on this movie. And
Okay.
so she understands the story. She has a passion to tell the story. She loves the story. And so I know what we're gonna get on the other side is gonna be great. Obviously, even as a director, you're very involved in the post-production process. I mean,
Okay.
every edit, everything that comes out, you're making notes, you're telling what to fix, you're telling where it's at. I always keep the backup drive with me and then have the project file be transferable back and forth. So like she gets hung up in a
Okay.
situation, I can grab the project file and then make a quick edit for her or show her where the files are. And then that, like, if I don't like this take, like, let's find another take and she can't find it. But I'm like, I know we shot it because I was on
Yeah.
set. I'll be able to find it in the project file, tell her exactly where it's at, and then she'll be able to do it. But yeah, I'm doing that now. So we're wrapping up a documentary that I'm filming right now. It's a sports documentary about a really amazing personality, Oliver. So it should come out later this year. And part of the 1970s Pirates that were just the craziest. Even though he's like a deacon at his church and like didn't do any of that stuff, he was in this clubhouse with these guys that were like doing LSD and like cocaine and like all this crazy
Wow.
stuff. And so, yeah, we have some pretty cool behind the scenes stories from that. But yeah, that'll also go to an editor probably here in Dallas. But yeah, it's all about building a team around you, and it's all about just the collaborative effort of filmmaking is so important. I feel like we too often we isolate ourselves in the filmmaking process, especially in the post production world. And in the
Yeah.
indie world, you just don't have the money to outsource it. But even if it's like, look, just come on board and help me get to a rough cut or come on board and help polish this thing out. And even if you don't have the money for the full edit or something like that, bringing somebody in the collaborative process on the tail end
Yeah.
really can enhance your film quite a bit, I think.
No, that awesome. That brings up so I want to get into I know Santa's List is on your heart and if I remember reading some things that you've said, you wrote Santa's List, correct? Like this is
Did.
your like big baby, like you wanted to kind of go back into a horror film setting. And so you're
Yeah.
not just like this is like your story. And so we'll get into a little bit about that, but let's get into the big one that's you got going on. Your trailer drops by the time this episode drops next week, everybody's going to be able to watch a trailer with Kevin Farley in a movie called Pickleball. And so that
Yeah.
trailer's releasing soon. We're recording this just a little bit beforehand. And so on April 1st, that trailer's dropping. And so you're pretty excited. I know you're pretty stoked. And I've seen your Facebook page about this. And so just this is your moment. Let's just hype up. So, how exciting was Pickleball for you as a sports guy, as a comedy guy, and just from what we've talked about, having a bigger budget? So, kind of how
Yeah.
did that play out for you?
Yeah, definitely. Dude, it was a blast making that movie. I mean, yeah, there was some headaches that happened on set, and it was just a tough movie to make. Like any sports movie in general, especially when you involve a lot of extras, a lot of people, a lot of movement on a court that you is so unpredictable, like where this ball's gonna go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm dealing with actors who aren't professional pickleball players. You know what I mean? But on
Yeah.
the other side of the court, there are professional pickleball players. So like they're getting frustrated because the actor keeps dipping it in the net, like just like
Okay.
random stuff like that. But we have to like maintain some sort of athleticism within the sport.
Sure.
No, I love it, and I would do another sports movie again. I would do it differently, though, for a budget of the size that we had. Like, we're not, you know, I think Ben Stiller's got his movie coming out called The Dink, right? And they probably had 50 million plus. So they have all the extras, they have all the
Yeah.
locations, they have all the personnel needed to be able to wrangle all the extras. That was always a tough thing on set.
Yeah.
You're ready to shoot, and your extras are all, grabbing a snack, and you're like, "Hey, I mean, we're rolling cameras right now. Where are you at?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, just having the right personnel to be able to, it's like herding cats essentially. It's 100 people on
Yeah.
set. But yeah, no, this was fun because I love sports. I learned so much about the sport of pickleball. Like, in all honesty, I understood like its popularity. I used to play ping pong so much in college. I mean, you probably
Okay.
know this. You remember the
Yeah.
ping
Yeah.
pong
Yeah.
table
Yeah.
in the
Yep.
dorm room? We
Yep.
would play for like all night long. I played so much ping pong in college, and pickleball is like basically you're standing on a ping pong table. That's what it feels
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
The rules are very similar. When you hit the ball, it feels very similar on this, hollow wooden paddle and a plastic ball that looks like a wiffle ball. So like learning the sport for me was not very difficult. Learning the nuances of the sport, now that's something different. The
Sure.
terminology, the language, which I think I did something very right early on. Was we had a local actor here, really great actor. His name is Tom Young, but he is like he plays these pickleball tournaments, and I'm talking his trophy case is massive. He's
Okay.
winning like professional level pickleball tournaments, but he's also an actor. He's like been in a lot of pickleball commercials, which is pretty funny. But
Nice.
he's been in other commercials too, but like because of his skill set with the pickleball paddle, he gets cast in a lot of pickleball commercials. And
Sure.
so I brought him on during the gameplay. I actually brought him on as one of the players,
Okay.
that's a recurring character in the movie, but he got to stand over my shoulder the entire time during match play and be like, I don't think that wouldn't happen that way in a real tournament. Here's what you really need to do. And I'm like,
Sure.
that's why I need you here, buddy.
And
That's
so
why
you
I
wanted
need you
that. So
here.
when you brought him in, so I would think sometimes in smaller films, sometimes maybe actors can probably think that they can step in and direct scenes, or hey, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. So in this case, you wanted him there, correct? Like you wanted him saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, I want a technical side to this, even though it's a Kevin Farley comedy. I want to honor pickleball." And so you wanted him to give you that feedback, or was it hard to be like, "Okay, dude, I got you." Like,
No,
you know
no,
what I
I
mean? How
welcomed
hard was
it.
that for you?
No, I welcomed it. Like if it depends on the situation, right? If it's real tense and we're trying to make our day and like it's to the end of the day, but when it comes to like technical stuff and things that I just don't know as much about, and there's a professional that's right here, sure, tell me what I'm doing wrong. I'll fix it right then and there because I don't want that to be in the final edit because everybody's going to watch it and be like, nobody would do that. That's stupid,
Yeah.
So, but when it comes to like scenes and all these things, yeah, I mean, we had a team of I think 3 writers. It was me, it was Jay, and it was Justin Chaffee. Jay is also in the movie, JD Walters. So we all 3 collaborated and wrote this script together. Kevin jumped in, punched up some of the comedy. It really kind of helped, quite a bit. But the story essentially came from us 3, right?
Yeah.
So when we get off of the court and into a scene, and then actors are kind of chirping in my ear, that's when it's like, hey, guys,
Yeah.
you only know what your part is. You do
Yeah.
not know the entire story. And I've had to do
Sure.
that several times in several movies.
Yeah.
Like I worked on one movie where we were doing a scene and the actress, says a line, but she's like unsure of herself about it. But that was what her character was supposed to do. And then the producer was like, well, actually she should say this. And then I was sat there and thought about it, and I was like, no, that doesn't make sense for this time period in the movie. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
she needs to be unsure about herself. That's like if she was definite right now, the rest of it wouldn't make any sense. So it's like
Sure.
understanding the context of where you're at, but it can be distracting in a lot of ways if somebody's like chirping in your ear where you
Yeah.
can lose sight of the full picture. It's really important, and it's really important as a director that you set an AD next to you that knows how to respect the space. Basically, if people are coming to you and asking questions and this, that, and the other, and I'm not
Yeah.
even filming them at the time,
Yeah.
they're going to be like, hey, 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 give him 5 minutes. He's studying the script. He's trying to tell the story. He's trying to do all these things because like that one comment or that one thing can literally derail an entire segment of the film or film. I
Sure.
just said film in a weird way. The entire segment of the film, right?
Yeah.
Just because you lost a train of thought, even though you had it in your head at that moment, but that
Yeah.
one comment can derail everything, so
So that
yeah.
assistant director, that AD, they're kind of there to play good cop, bad cop, depending upon the situation, right? Like if they need to be your bad cop, but if they need to be the one, like if you're kind of like frustrated, they might need to be the good cop in that situation, correct? So that AD is a really good vocal. If I'm so assistant director is a very, very important role. It's not just some
Yeah.
little thing on a credit where someone goes, oh, they must have just got their name thrown up there. They do a lot of the communication, correct? Like
The
behind the
the ass
scenes and things. Yeah.
Yeah, a good assistant director on a film is integral to the success of a film. Yeah, a lot of what you said, the good cop, bad cop thing, but it's also in terms of, like, scheduling the success of the day, coming to the director and saying, "Hey, we've got 5 more minutes to get out of the scene. You still got 2 more shots. You should probably just wrap this up." And it's like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. We've got, 4 more scenes to cover at the end of the day." So they have, like, a time schedule that keeps you on track. Even, you may get lost in a scene and you're, like, asking for take 5, take 6, take 7, and then they're just like, "Well,
Yep.
you're not
Yep.
gonna make your day if you don't." So they're a protector of the time in a lot of ways and a protector of, the space as well, which is very important in both things. It's tough in an indie film because it's not like if I need an extra day, I can go to the executive producer or the financier and say, "Hey, we need one more day for this film." He could very well say no. So you can't
Yeah.
just rely on that.
Yeah.
You have to make your day. Now if you pitch it in a way like, "Hey, we really needed to take the time in this scene. This scene was so important to the movie.
Sure.
It took a lot longer than what we anticipated." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get that out of them. Like, "It's only gonna cost an extra 15 grand for us to go one more day. You think we can do that?"
Yeah.
And it will elevate the film 30%. You know what I mean? Like, there is
Yeah.
a pitch in which that works, but you can't rely on that all the time, and so that's why a great AD, man, can really keep you on track in a lot of ways.
No, appreciate that. So talking about budget, I know like when we were on the Howdywood podcast and we were talking, I'd watched Porch Pirates and we were kind of going over a little bit about that. And then you and I talked about it off the camera and we were kind of chatting about it. And if I'm correct, so this pickleball, it's a huge uptick in budget. So you had a lot more budget at your using and disposal. Did you have like this idea like things would be easier, or did that big budget actually make it worse, or just kind of it was the same old, just a
Mhm.
just more money involved, but the same thing as Porch Pirates? Like kind of how did that go? Were you excited about the extra money and it came back to bite you in the butt and kind of like cause frustration? Or did more money make it feel more of a greater project to you? Does that matter to directors and stuff? Like how did you go through
Yeah,
that?
so with more budget comes more opportunities, and, if you put the right team around you, the problems are non-existent. So it was a smoother process in some regards, but a tougher process in others. When we went to the upper we had a little bit more money, so we thought, "Let's go SAG." One thing I'll say to a lot of directors who are, like, operating sub-$1 million budgets, SAG is probably not for you. FICOR exists for a reason, right? So if you go SAG, I mean, you're almost allocating 42% of your acting budget is not even going to the film anymore. It's going to health and pension and stuff. And if decide you want to honor SAG eligible people and put them on the paperwork and all this, I mean, it's you're losing money hand over fist in an indie production. But we went SAG with this, and it was my first experience, going SAG. So like all the paperwork, all the fees, and everything that was involved, it was a learning curve for sure, but, I had some um, good, people that I know have
Yeah.
done SAG for several years that I could just call up at a moment's notice and say, "Hey, how do I fill this form out?" Or, "What do I do in this situation?" And they were able to walk me through it. And the one thing too, so, like, I will say this about SAG, is if you're emailing SAG back and forth, I mean, the people that are emailing back, a lot of them, they're coming from LA, so they're short, they're cold responses. You're just
Yeah.
like, "Ah, man, this is kind of frustrating. Like, I'm not getting any of and then their response back is like, is a little like, "Why are you talking to me that way?" kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
you could easily get into a situation, into like a tunnel with your conversations with SAG where you feel like they're the enemy of your production. And I did
Mhm.
this one thing because I needed one question asked, but she was like, our rep was completely misunderstanding what we were saying in email. But every email at the very bottom has her phone number and her direct line to it. So I was like, I'm just going to call this. I'm
Yeah.
just going to call her and let's talk and let's hash things out. And the moment I called her, she was the absolute nicest person
Yeah, yeah.
I've talked to on the phone. And I was like, okay, so your email responses are just cold, but you're a super nice person. Okay, cool. Let's walk through, the situation. And she walked me through it and we ended up, you know, getting everything passed and, on to the next phase and stuff like that. But sub $1 million budgets, man, I would say, maybe try to stay away from SAG unless you just really, really have to. Unless there's an actor
Yeah.
that just has to be in SAG, you're gonna allocate for X amount of money. Like say, for instance, you're paying an actor $1,000 a day, 42% of that's gonna get so now your $1,000 a day actor is $1,420.
So it's not just their daily what SAG says. Now, SAG, is that Screen Actors Guild? Am I correct in that, or am I? So that's Screen Actors Guild. So that's the protection. Like that's like their union. So when we as fans, when we know like say like if I remember correctly, like some strikes were happening. The show Rookie got
Mhm.
our shows got canceled. That's where the Screen Actors Guild, they're trying to get what they deserve and trying to get their piece of that pie. So you mentioned FICOR. What is did I get that correctly, FICO? What's the difference
Yeah,
between
yeah.
the two, if you don't mind?
So I don't fully understand FICOR as much
Okay.
as SAG. Like, I'm not, like, so far into the unions, like,
Sure. Okay.
but from my understanding is, like, they can balance both worlds where they can do some non-union stuff as well as union stuff and not be penalized for it. So
Oh,
there's a
okay. So
lot of
it's more
lot
them
of
and it's the actor.
yeah, so there's a lot of actors, even actors that have been in some really big things that are just not they're not part of the Screen Actors Guild. And so you don't have to go through the whole payroll process and pension and health process and like all the things. And yeah, I mean, I get it. Like it exists for a reason
Yeah.
because if you think of like these big studios that are throwing millions and millions of dollars at a movie, yes, that needs to be taken care of. But if you think about an independent production that just has one guy that's willing to write a check, I'm not giving pension and health to my cinematographer who's on set for 3 to 4 weeks out of the thing.
Yeah.
I can't afford that, so like, but I have to give it to this actor who's on set for 3 or 4 days,
Yeah.
so
So
it is a tough thing. And a lot of people will say, well, if you don't have the money to do that, then you don't have the money to make a movie. Well, that's just not true. You
yeah.
know,
Yeah. No.
That's why low budget movies exist. I mean, you think of like some of the biggest movies that have came out, like Robert Rodriguez made a movie for $7,000. He wasn't going SAG and he was figuring out how to do the camera on his
Was that
own, right?
was that Machete?
That was his
Which
first
one
one.
was which one?
Once Upon a Time in Mexico, or was that
Oh, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Yeah.
isn't that the
Yeah. I
first
know.
one?
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
be
Once Upon
wrong.
a Time in Mexico. No, I know I've seen interviews with him where he's talked about that, where he's proven that you can do a movie that can take off and run with just
Yeah.
7,000. I just couldn't remember. Maybe it wasn't Machete because Machete was originally, I think that was just a commercial for Grindhouse when
No, I think
Tarantino did that, and then they made Machete after
yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I can't remember. I think it might have been the Once Upon a Time. That might have been the
It's
one
either
that was
Once
seven
Upon a
thousand.
Time in Mexico or is it Desperado?
Desperado, it could have been. Well, Desperado had. How do you make a movie for 7,000 that had Salma Hayek and Antonio Banderas? You would think.
So maybe it was Once Upon a Time in
So
Mexico.
maybe it was Once
It
Upon
was
a
one of
Time.
them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know, but both of them are really good. Have good stuff in it. So yeah, I'd be curious to look that one up. Hey, nerds, look
Yeah.
that up. I don't have any
Yeah.
nerds. It's just me.
Yeah.
Just joking. So
Producer.
hey, somebody look that up for me. When I
Yeah.
have people, I'll have them look that up for us.
There we
You know what
go.
I mean?
Fact checking everything.
So,
Yeah.
so speaking of, SAG and FICOR and those things that we don't know on our side, just these little things that can cause hiccups and things like that. Overall, with Pickleball being a sports movie, there are unwritten rules of sports. So,
Mhm.
for those watching, if you're a sports fan, think about this baseball year. There's a chance there's a lockout in 2027. That's their union. It's no different than the Screen Actors Guild wanting their piece of the pie. These baseball players, we come to see them. I come to watch the actors a lot of time. I may not know who the director's name is. I may not know who the writer's name is, but I know who Chris Hemsworth is. So there's a draw there, a Tom Cruise type of thing, right? And so they need their piece of the pie. So with baseball, they need their piece of the pie. And so there's going to be a big probably strike and things like that. But there are unwritten rules. And in unwritten rules like baseball, if you steal a sign, if a guy's on second base and he tells the batter, gives him a little signal that a fastball is coming, and the other team finds out, what's going to happen when he comes up to bat? They're going to throw a fastball right at his head, knock him out of the box
Yeah.
or hit him, right? So there's these, and then they police themselves. In the movie industry, on your side of the screen, is there unwritten rules and a way in which you police each other that you don't have to give a bunch of industry secrets, of course, or call anybody out, but is there a way in which you guys operate that would be different than other business on how you would handle in-house infractions and things like
Yeah.
that? Does that make sense? Sticking with the
Mhm.
sports theme and unwritten rules.
Yeah, yeah, there's definitely, like, I don't know if they're technically unwritten, but they're understood, right? Where the director's he's the king of the story, you know what I mean? So don't step on the director's toes while he's telling the story. There's also things like in each department, right? Sound guys have their own thing, like don't scream in a mic unless you give him a warning because I mean, he's got headphones on, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so that happened on one of our movies where the actor had a lav on and he yelled at somebody that was across the room and the sound guy was like, "Oh my gosh." You know what I mean? So it's just like a reminder of like we're operating in a professional environment with a lot of people. Then, there's stuff in the department with the camera, right? Cinematographer, he may not want you touching his camera.
Yeah.
So as an AC or even as, a director that's like loves to put their hand on a camera, it's always important to ask for permission. One of the things that I do in my movies is I'm blessed to actually have a camera package. So I've got two red cameras, I've got lenses, I've got all these things. And so in order to avoid wear and tear on the cinematographer's camera, I usually offer up mine. Which is at the same level that they're currently shooting at. So they're like, "Oh yeah, this is great." What that allows me to do is when it comes time where I need to operate, and every director at some point operates their camera.
Okay.
You think of like the Zack Schneiders and the Michael Bays and like all that stuff, all the behind the scenes stuff. You'll see like behind the scenes photos where the director's got the camera on his shoulder or in his hands or operating in some way. And a lot of times it speeds things up for if there's a specific moving shot that you just need to get it a certain way. It's easier for the director to just take it. We can knock this thing out a little bit quicker rather than me try to explain both sides. All right, actor, you need
Yeah.
to do this. Camera, you need to do this. So yeah, hands off the cinematographer's camera for sure.
Yeah.
Different things when you're swapping lenses. Allow for, technical difficulties on set. I know a lot of directors get super frustrated with that, but it's like, dude, this is part of the process, man. We're dealing with mechanical equipment. If a camera goes down or something bad happens, like don't lose your cool over this thing. They're doing their best. I mean, we're
Yeah.
operating with tech that's out of our control. Like they know how to operate it and they know how to even fix it, but sometimes it just takes time. So those are kind of some of they're
Yeah.
not really unwritten, but it's just understood good practice when you're on a film set. The other thing, is a lot of people like to say, some productions will say this. I never say this, but they say, if your crew, don't talk to the actors, which
Really?
frustrates me a little bit because I don't see the actors as anything other than another person, you know, like,
Sure.
and if they start the conversation, I'm gonna talk too. I mean, I was on
Yeah. Yeah.
I did a Western with, Chad Michael Murray, and it's
Okay.
actually number one Western on, Amazon right now. You guys can check it out. It's called Bad Men Must Bleed.
Was that the newer one? I think you were just posting something like that.
Yeah,
Bad
yeah,
men must bleed. Okay.
Bad Men Must Bleed. Yeah, my buddy Micah directed it, and they were filming inside. Chad was outside waiting for his time to go, and I'm operating gimbal for the whole thing. I was doing second unit cinematography, so a lot of the stuff you see in the trailer is stuff that I got to shoot. James Burgess is a brilliant cinematographer. He was the DP on set.
Okay.
Him and I had a lot of collaboration on this and like, here's how I want you to set, he would tell me, here's how I want your camera to set up. Here's all this stuff. But all that to say, there was that segment, they were filming a fight scene. They didn't need gimbal. So I'm just on standby, got my rig ready. I'm, sitting there on the porch of this old ex house and Chad walks up and, just starts a conversation with me, asking me, starts small, just asking me about my rig. And I start talking, we got into it. We started talking football. He's a huge Buffalo Bills fan.
Okay.
So I had to apologize for all the disruption the Cowboys did to him in the 90s, and so, yeah, we sat there on the porch and talked for like an hour or so before he was, called on to set. But,
Yeah.
some productions really frown on that. It's like, no,
Really.
you're in the crew. Do not engage with the actors at all. And those productions, man, I don't vibe with. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't see them as anything other than people. Yeah, they got some success. They
Yeah.
got a little bit of popularity, so could anybody else on that film set. It's, we're all people. And
Sure. Sure.
as people, we're all on the same level,
Yeah.
regardless.
No. Yeah. I
And
would. I
and
would.
in reality, having a conversation with a lot of these actors and stuff like that, they want to be a part of the community too. And
Sure.
you hear them like later on podcasts and things like that and talk about how disconnected they feel from a film set, a lot of them get so burned out. So they show up on a film set,
Yeah.
nobody talks to them, and they feel like there's this weird dissension between the crew
Sure.
and them. You know, imagine what they're going through if like you walk onto a film, like you, or imagine if you would feel if you walked onto your job
Yeah.
and there's like 40 people and nobody talks to you except for
Yeah.
one person that puts your mic on you. And then and then another person that says, "All right, you ready to go?
Yeah.
Act, like do your job now."
Yeah.
It would be a terrible experience
Yeah.
if you're, but I'm not saying like also like I'm not going to go in there and just like, that's one thing I do too. I never take selfies. Don't
Sure.
take
Sure.
selfies with the
So
don't
yeah.
take
Yeah.
selfies with the actor. Don't take selfies with, unless
They're
there's
part of
a
that. And
time
yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
And if it's a big actor, if they initiate it. Like if they initiate it, and they're like, "Yeah, let's take some photos." Yeah, sure. Go ahead and jump in there and do that. But yeah, that's also that's kind of an unwritten thing is,
Okay.
don't use their success to boost your social media essentially.
So that's
Like
yeah.
I just
That's
need
what I
that
was.
selfie on set.
Yeah. That's what I was
Oh,
kind of
and
wondering. Go
and the
ahead.
other thing too is don't post behind the scenes photos. If
Sure.
like a lot of productions have NDAs. Now, I have a different philosophy when it comes to independent filmmaking. It's like, look, if you don't post behind the scenes photos, nobody's going to know what your movie is, right?
Sure.
Nobody's going to even know that you're making a movie. You're not Marvel, you're not Star
Yeah. Yeah.
Wars. Like nobody even knows that this movie exists. Odds are it's going to go, to Amazon, Apple TV, and the only acknowledgement that people have that this is a viable thing would be the social content that your cast and crew then post. But if you're filming an integral scene, a scene which is a pivotal moment in the film, don't post that.
Yeah.
Don't post that, like, because now you're just giving up the plot of the movie with your behind the scenes photos, and that's kind of frustrating. But just, having fun on set, shots of the camera, shots of the lights, the big wide setup, like little things like that. To me, like I always welcome that. We even create on a film set, we create Photo Circle as an app. And what we
Okay.
do is everybody on set, cast and crew, you just add them via email, right? And
Uh huh.
then everybody uploads all their photos into that section, and you can go
Okay.
back. I mean, it stays up there for years. I can go back
Wow.
and watch Porch Pirates
Okay.
and even Bad Men Must Bleed and just scroll through all the behind the scenes. It's just like walking down memory lane again. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
this is so cool. So yeah, there's little things like that on set, just maintain professionality. Sure.
Well, so that makes me so with you've been doing this for a little while and social media with the rise of influencers, creators, self-made podcasters, who want to kind of get their name
Yeah.
out there, right? Things like that. So, do you feel like the rules have gotten worse with the us versus them mentality of stopping crew from talking because you don't want maybe there's like that one actor's maybe it's in their contract. They're more of a not to knock them a prima donna, but they're tired of that. They're tired of selfies. They can't go anywhere without it. And so when they're
Right.
at work, that's where they, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I would think like, let's say, let's just bring up Chris Hemsworth. Not that he does this, but this guy probably can't go anywhere in public unless he's
Without
just
somebody wanting to take a
right.
selfie.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so, and then when he comes to work, I mean, can we really knock that he just doesn't want that same mentality? But then on the other side, it's like, yeah, but these guys are in the trenches with you. This is your sound guy. This is the girls and guys making you look better. You know what I'm saying? So I would wonder if
Yeah.
sometimes it could just be one actor's contract that's like, hey, I just need to be in this space and I just want this is a job to
Oh,
me,
yeah.
right? Can it be just
Oh,
that? And then
it's
they do
it
that or
it can also be more than just a job. Several actors come in and they're method actors, where basically they never leave their character even when they go to the trailer. So, and if they're playing like the villain, in the story, they're going to be a little bit of a jerk to you on set, but you just have to be like, look, he's in his character. He's a method guy. That's just who he is. You know what I mean?
sure.
So yeah, there's several actors that want to respect that space. And I think
Okay.
you have to understand, even coming from it as a crew perspective, what I was referencing of like not talking to the cast is like, even when they acknowledge you, you just kind of ignore it. And that's what a lot of productions just are like, don't talk to them at all. But if you know that they're going through lines in their head, they're doing all these things, don't try to talk to them before a take.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they're researching their character, especially like if they go into a corner, and this happens all the time. They'll go into a corner with a script and just sit there. and don't go
Yeah.
over there and just start a conversation with them. They definitely don't want that,
Yeah, I
because it's
know.
like I'm about to be on camera. I got to I got to deliver 5 pages of a script in, the next 2 or 3 hours. Like I need to study and I need to figure out my character and what his motive is in this scene. So there are moments on set where yes, please. And then one thing that I always do too is if it's a tense scene or if it's an emotional scene, I'll tell everybody on set no talking or talk
Yeah.
quietly.
Yeah.
And then no joking, no laughing, not for the next 2 or 3 hours.
Okay.
This is a somber moment, and the actor needs to sit in this somber moment for a while. So there'll be those moments on set where
Yeah.
everything just needs to stop. Yeah, you're gonna have your fun moments as well, but when the
Yeah.
actor really needs to dig deep into some emotional,
Yeah.
tense
Yeah.
struggle, it's like the side joking, the banter, you're talking about, who's playing football that night or baseball or whatever, like those
Sure.
side conversations are not gonna add to the film at all. And so respecting the emotional environment of the scene that you're going into is also, something that I try to practice as well while I'm on set.
When you do scenes like that, just something that popped in my head. When you do a scene like that, that's a more serious, very somber, maybe very sad. A death has happened. You have an emotional reaction from a character. Since you kind of put that kibosh on everybody, like, hey, we're not looking for blooper reels. We're not looking for
Yeah, not
outtakes
here.
for the credits. This is serious. Do you feel like? Have you noticed like maybe people holding like this mics and stuff? Getting caught up in the moment and getting caught up in
Mhm.
the emotion of that actor where it becomes like you got multiple people crying that are just
Yeah.
they're witnessing this performance live for the first time, almost like a play. And do
Yeah.
you find that where even you're like, oh my gosh, this might not
Yeah,
be the take, but I want this
there
to
are
be the
moments,
take,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
There are moments for sure. Yeah, there's been some emotional moments on set where it was like watching it, play out just, because if I'm not operating a camera, I'm sitting on a monitor and I'm literally watching a movie, so it's like it's right there in my face. And, if I can feel the emotion, they can feel the emotion. I know we got it. And when you look around and everybody is just like, even after you yell cut, nobody says a word. It's like just even
Yeah.
when everybody knows we got it, it's like it's that moment of self-reflection. But I had like another moment too, like in Pickleball. We had this one scene, man, where 2 characters are just going at it, just
Okay.
yelling. And they were holding back. And I don't know why they were holding back, but I just wasn't feeling it. And I was like, nobody stop the cameras, keep the cameras rolling. And we had 100 extras on set. It was packed. It was hot, you know.
Yeah.
And they were going at it and wasn't working. And it was almost getting there. I was like, all right, just give me a little bit more. All right, give me a little bit more. All right, give me a little bit more. And we were on take 8, and I ran over there and I said, all right, look, you're almost there. Turn it up to 110%. And I turned around to the other. I said, turn it up to 110%. And they looked at me and they were like, oh my gosh, he's so tense right now. I said, this is the intensity I need right now, and just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
in their face with it all. And they ran back and I said, action. And then they did it, and they maintained like my intensity that I gave the
Yeah.
direction at. And I said,
Yeah.
God, that was great. And like
Yeah.
all of the extras just were like, yeah, they were like cheering. And
Yeah.
like,
That's
that was
awesome.
great. I
That's
was
pretty
like,
fun.
yeah, that's what's up, man. And so it nails in the film too. Like you
Yeah.
feel the intensity in the scene, but it's like sometimes like as a director, you got to show up with the same intensity that you expect them to be at. It's like you're not hitting it. You're not
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
yet. And so we finally got it. It was fun too because Glenn Morshower was on set that day, and he was sitting up in the booth, and he was like, he goes, "Man, I love it when you get passionate." Like,
That's good.
love you, Glenn.
That's No, that's good. That's good to hear that kind of stuff happening. And so for all of us that are going to be watching Pickleball, where are we going to get to see it? Is this going to be a theatrical release? Is this a streaming release? So Pickleball, the trailer will be out. So anybody who listens to this, you're going to be able to watch that trailer. But when are we going to be able to see it, and where will we be able to see it?
Yeah,
Or do
so
we
it
know
will
not? Or do
be
we not know yet?
no, it'll be streaming. It'll be Amazon, Apple, and
Okay.
it will come out. I believe it's June 19th is when it's coming out.
Okay.
We were gonna go a week earlier, but I think Steven Spielberg has a release coming out at that
Discourse
same
Day.
time period. So
Yeah.
we were like, well, maybe we don't want to compete with that. So
Yeah.
our distribution agent was like, let's push it back a week. It's probably fine.
Okay.
So yeah, I believe it's June 19th. But we haven't officially said that yet, but we'll
Okay.
make an official post on our Facebook page. pretty
So
shortly. I think
sometime this
it's
summer, and it is Amazon and Apple, so most people could check it out there, and then that's a
yeah,
streaming site. I would think, like, is it hard? Does it hard for you to get excited for a lot of like some of those independent films being on streaming coming out in the summer because summer is such a heavy theater time?
it
Do you
is,
ever just
man.
be like, "Oh, man, this there's that chance it could just be it could take
It's
a couple months. It could take until like the fall when people are back
yeah,
laying around and vegging where they could
it's
really
got
catch on to these things."
it's got both. So you think about summer too, is I mean, there's a lot of kids with a lot of free time, so there's it's
Sure.
more than just going to the movies. And unfortunately, like movie going hasn't been as big, in recent years. And I think since COVID, like a lot of these movies, like a lot of big movies are just coming straight to streaming. And so I think a lot of people anticipate and they're still going to be watching movies. Most people watch a movie before they go to bed almost every single night, so and we're consuming a lot more content these days.
Yeah.
And yeah, to come up against a bunch of projects that are gonna be blockbusters essentially is gonna it's gonna be a tough ride, but it's also pickleball, man. Like the
Yeah,
pickleball
you're gonna
fan
get
base
some
is
people. I was telling you that story. My wife and I, she was a travel nurse, and we're in Arizona, and the sweetest old 85-year-old that like when we would have lunch, we got to stay at a 55 plus community because she's a nurse, and so they made an exception for us to stay there while she was on contract. So I'm having breakfast and lunch and playing Texas Hold'em with all these 80-year-old dudes and stuff, and
nice.
they
They're
were
taking your
awesome.
money?
Yeah, yeah, they took my money. Yeah, they did. And then I would try to talk them into going to movies with me after poker night. A couple of them would go to movies and stuff at the theater. Well, this one guy, super sweet guy, but then on like I think it was like Thursday nights from like 7 till 10, you heard nothing but F bombs on the pickleball court because he was the most intense. I mean, it was the most night and day difference I've ever seen in a human in my life. Like, the very next day, like showing up for a lunch or just saying hi to him. And then you're just like, in my head, I'm laughing because it's like, this guy loves the F word and obviously hated somebody that night because
Yeah.
it was crazy. And so people do take it very
He had
serious. So it has
he
a big
either
following.
he either hated somebody or he hated himself. He was
Sure.
either somebody was dominating him on the court or he was making so many mistakes. He was just angry at himself. But I love pickleball because it's a sport that's a great equalizer because the older folks can play and still be competitive to the younger folks. Like you see it all the time. If you go to a pickleball court, you see 20-something-year-old playing with 60-year-old men and
Yeah.
the game is competitive, and so it's
No,
pretty
I
fun to
played it. No, I'm
watch.
I'm telling you, like, I remember, like, the one of the trainers was like, "If you wanna learn, just come, like, 10 to noon, like, on Wednesdays," and Christina would work at night, she'd sleep during the day, so I went up there one time, and I'm playing with them, and, this was, like, 3 years ago, so I'm 47, so I'm not in the 60 to I'm not wearing, like, elbow braces, and I smell like
Yeah,
icy
right.
hot before it's even started, right?
Tiger
And
Balm.
and I just felt like I was the most out of shape. Like this girl, she's just moving all over the place. I mean, she was zipping
Yeah,
around. I'm like, what? I got to step up my game. And then I think I'm the one that threw out my elbow because I'm like trying to overcompensate. So it's pretty awesome. So I'm pretty excited to check it out. We've been messing around. We have a pickleball. We have a set because when we would go to different places, there was always usually a lot of RV perks had pickleball now and stuff.
nice,
So we're
yeah.
looking forward to it. So that in mind, with pickleball, I'm pretty excited. So we'll be watching for that for June. And so you love sports. We've talked about this just as friendship and just messaging. So we're going to do a little segment called the Mount Rushmore. So we're going to do
Got it.
Mount Rushmore. And instead of doing comedy, since this is a sports comedy, I'll be honest, there is no way that I can have just one Mount Rushmore of comedy. Like if we were talking comedy, I
Yeah.
would have to turn it into something else, right? So, but sports, I think it's a little bit easier. So we're going to go through
Mhm.
our Mount Rushmore of sports, and so we'll just go kind of back and forth. And so I'll start it off just to make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to throw a comedy onto my Mount Rushmore of sports,
Okay.
and I hope everybody listening does not come at me like a spider monkey. Talladega Nights is one of my favorite all-time anything to do with sports. It is one of the most rewatchable. I have never liked racing. I liked Days of Thunder a little bit when I was young, but I wasn't really big into anything racing. I've loved F1 when that came out last year. That
Well,
was
that
a
was
phenomenal
great.
movie, right? And
It
I
got
would almost
snubbed at
want
the
to,
Oscars.
yeah, and I would want to almost put that in my Mount Rushmore. It was so good. But if it
Yeah.
wasn't for Talladega Nights, I would have never watched Need for Speed, anything to do like Ford
Right.
versus Ferrari. It was Talladega Nights that made me go, okay, I want to look a little bit more into movies about this world. So that's number one for me. Sports, Talladega Nights. How about you?
Yeah, so if I was to say, and I always call this is one of my top 10 movies of all time, and I get a lot of hate for it, but man, Cinderella Man, I just keep
Yeah.
going back to the way that the story was told, Ron Howard. It likens it reminds me of a time when movies didn't need to be rushed. And that's
Okay.
what I really like about it. The story takes time to develop. It's
Yeah.
like it's raw, it's real. You see a man have everything, lose everything, have to rebuild his life. I mean, that's the essence of the story, but even in the storytelling process, man, like if you look at movies today, they're so fast paced,
Yeah. You're
and
right.
Cinderella Man is like one of those authentic, like rich stories. You just fall so in love with the character. It's like that's pretty great, you know?
Yeah, Cinderella Man, great one. So you're gonna get no argument from me because number two on my Mount Rushmore is in fact Cinderella Man.
There you
When it
go.
comes to boxing, you think about Rocky. I loved Rocky 3, Mr. T. I even like Creed.
Yeah, they were good.
Creed was freaking phenomenal. Southpaw with Jake Gyllenhaal, I thought was a good. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
good boxing, but once again, not a sport that I love that much. So it's really funny. Two of my movies on my Mount Rushmore are two sports that I am not into like on a regular basis. I don't play
Yeah,
fantasy NASCAR. I don't play fantasy boxing. But
right.
Cinderella Man is a phenomenal movie. And it is so phenomenal that I'm even letting a Renee Zellweger movie be on my Mount Rushmore because I'm not a big fan of
Yeah.
hers. But Russell Crowe,
She was
everything
so good
about
in
that
that
movie,
movie.
she was
That
really
was
good
that
in
was
that.
her perfect
Yeah.
role.
No, she was amazing. I kid a little bit about it, but not really. I'm not the biggest fan,
Dude,
but I
okay,
like her in that in Chicago.
the scene that gets me in that movie is they're eating fried bologna, which if you've never had fried bologna, it's pretty
Oh, I
good.
come from trailers. Yep, I know.
Yeah, but, man, he's getting ready to go to work, and the daughter is like, Mom, I want some more." You know how she says it?
Yeah,
And then Russell Crowe looks at him and he goes, "You know what? I had a dream last night that I was eating at the Ritz, and I had a steak. It was this thick." And, like, that whole scene, and he goes, "I'm so stuffed, I just can't eat anymore." And he, like, shovels the food over to her plate, and he goes, "You have mine." And then Renee Zellweger was like, he's literally going to work on the docks for, like,
yeah,
18
yeah,
hours,
yeah, yeah.
with nothing in his stomach. And I'm like, dude, if that's not just the perfect picture of a father in tough times, it's like,
Sure.
golly, dude, the writer of that scene and the way that Russell Crowe portrayed it and Ron Howard directed it, and then Renee Zellweger's response to that
Yeah,
moment, I'm like, oh, that is so heavy. And it doesn't hit you hard until after you have kids. When you have kids, like that
sure.
moment is
Yeah,
real. Like it's so good, man. It's one of my favorite moments in a movie. I
yeah.
always
And
remember that.
a lot of us think that we're in tough times, but we can't really relate to a lot of eras. The Great Depression is a something that most Americans can't really relate to, whether we think we try to say we can. But scenes like that bring out that emotion that make you go, "Dang, this is what these moms and dads just they had to go without food for their
Yeah.
things like that, or he had to keep working to follow his dream." And these days, working to follow your dream is having two side hustle podcasts. But this guy was working 17-hour a day at the docks, and so yeah,
Yeah.
Cinderella Man. We're both on page, so that's my second. So I've got two. So how about you? What do you got with your
I'm
next
gonna
one?
say I'm gonna say 42.
42.
Chadwick Boseman, man. Like,
Yes.
dude, he was one of the greats. Definitely taken way too soon. He had so much more movies. He had so many more movies that he needed to make, and I think he knew that.
Yeah.
But man, that movie, dude, just the story of Jackie Robinson, so good. And I know we're throwing out movies that are like old, except for Talladega Nights, but not old, but
Yeah.
like that take place like in the past. And I love Americana. So when I think about great sports movies, like that one was so good.
Well, and then you got to think about the story too, just the history of our country. Just that was a defining moment for more than just sports. And so
And I heard
42.
something
Yeah.
I heard something too that Jackie Robinson wasn't even the best player in the Negro leagues. He was just the one that they knew could withstand the oppression that he was gonna get.
Yeah.
And so if you think about, like, the talent that was in the Negro leagues at that time, like, I bet if Negro league ball players actually played a major league ball player or
Yeah.
major league, ball clubs, like, if they played against each other, the Negro leagues would have probably wiped them off the floor. You know
Well,
what I mean?
if anybody has MLB, SM Radio, I don't know if it's got canceled. Last year, they had a gentleman, can't remember his name, and he would talk a lot about the Negro Leagues and their Hall of
Mhm.
Fame. And I would think that the name, if I'm correct, it's Josh Gibson. I think
Okay.
Josh Gibson is there, would be that guy that people just wish like that, the Barry Bonds of the Negro League.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, the Babe Ruth, sorry.
Yeah, the
But
Babe
he
Ruth,
just
yeah.
was this monster. His stats are basically like I created a cheat code for MLB The Show.
Jeez.
I mean, it's crazy. So I believe it's Josh Gibson. I could be wrong. Nerds, figure it out. We'll
Yeah.
get back to you. But
Producer,
so
producer,
yeah,
get
but
on that.
yeah, no. So you're right. It was an epic time, and so I'm going to stick with baseball. I'm going to go with a different story, same kind of relatively time period, The Natural. I know it's on
Yeah.
most people. When you think of baseball, you're usually going to get The Natural, but that movie for me as a young boy, just phenomenal. I mean, and if you think about it, when you're a kid, that movie's a slow movie about some adults, but just the music when they were on the
Wasn't it
field,
isn't it
the
what's his name? It's a loose story about Mickey Mantle. Yeah, Mickey Mantle.
believe so. Yeah, Roy Hobbs is the fictional character. I don't think Mickey Mantle got shot, but I think instead of
No,
coming back from
but
war,
he did
came back
have
from
a
war. I think. Right?
no, but he did have like a stomach injury. And I believe he had a stomach injury the day that he hit the ball that would have gone over 700 feet in at
Really?
the Yankee Stadium, but it hit the top corner of the Yankee Stadium. Like he had and I think that was a lot of his ailment was he had like some appendicitis issues. And so that's kind
Okay.
of what they were playing with was him playing injured. I could be wrong, but every time I
Nerds.
watch that movie, it just reminds me of the
Yeah.
Mickey Mantle story because I was huge into baseball Americana back in the day and did so much research on baseball.
Yeah. No, that's mine. The Natural, and then with music, when he hits that home run and the
Ah,
music for The Natural, it's
that's
just I.
iconic.
That's the movie for me. I just have a love for music in movies. Like
Here's
music in
here
certain scenes, just get
here's
me so much.
here's a crazy fact.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna look this up because I want to be accurate with this.
Okay.
Do you know who did that song in The Natural?
In The Natural, are you gonna say something crazy like Freddie Mercury? No, it would be Freddie
No,
Mercury
no, no,
because he's a Flash Gordon.
no. His name is Randy Newman.
What?
Now,
Randy Newman? You've got a friend like me?
no.
He's from the Toy
So
Story. Is that Randy Newman or is that Gary
no,
Newman?
no,
You
no.
have
So
a
let's look
friend?
this up. Who did the song from Toy Story is also Randy Newman. Yes, I think his
But are they
is
different Randy Newmans? That's kind of
no,
funny.
no. So the Newman family is known for writing so much like sports
Really?
music. I
I
think
did not
there's like
realize that.
3 or 4 of them. I think one of them wrote the NFL theme song, like that kind
Yeah.
of thing. But if you look them up, like I did this weird little case study with my buddy who does the scores for my movies, Eric Schroeder, and he was
Yeah.
like filling me in on this. I was like, dude, they literally have written the sports soundtracks of our lives. That entire
Really?
family
I'll have to
has.
look it up. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's
Yeah.
that little things like that because I've just always been, you and I have talked about this in the past, and most people, if they do follow me and listen to this podcast, they're going to realize that music and trailers are really important to me. Like I don't even a trailer can happen, and I don't even care, but
Yeah.
it's the right song. There's this, so Star Trek, J.J. Abrams' Star Trek came out. I'm not a big Trekkie, but and Chris Pine and all those guys, and so they're replaying it. And I love the first movie, but that trailer picked this little song from Freedom Fighters called Two Steps to Hell. It's just this weird little, no words. Check it out. Google when you get a chance, a trailer for Star Trek and just the movement and the way it goes. And then the way they add certain scenes and explosions right when that emotional, I don't know, man, you get me hooked and I get so excited to go see the movie. And the movie can suck and I'll still just remember like,
You remember the music?
yeah, X-Men, the X-Men with Dark Phoenix. Phoenix.
Yeah.
Bad
Yeah, yeah.
movie, but its trailer, somebody remade The Doors, This Is the End, and it was
Yeah.
phenomenal in the trailers. Things like that just get me stoked.
But if you think about so like back to the X-Men, so you think about like the cartoon X-Men soundtrack, right? Yeah. And then when and Disney knew what they were doing because they finally
Yeah.
got the rights to X-Men and when they were
Yeah.
doing the Doomsday thing and then it cut over to Hugh Jackman, the chair thing that
Yeah.
they were doing and it was
Yeah.
like changing the scores for like each chair and it
Yeah.
cut over to Hugh Jackman for Wolverine and then it started playing "Da-na-na-na-na-na,"
No,
and we were like,
it's
"No
yeah,
way."
no, it's like yeah, like when you do like because people don't I mean, we think of certain scenes, we may think of like we may repeat one lines, but a lot of people can hear a couple of notes and
Yeah.
relive like the
Relive
emotion,
the whole thing. Music is so
relive the whole
powerful.
thing. You hear a certain Celine Dion song and you just want to start,
Yeah.
hold me, Jack, just whatever. So, and you can hate that movie, but just certain things like that. And so, okay, so I've got my three. What's your third Mount Rushmore etched in?
I'd probably have to say Remember the Titans.
Ooh, Remember the Titans. Oh man, left side, strong side. Such a good movie. Speaking
Yeah,
of,
you
so Remember the Titans. That's was that Ryan Hurst's first big? Because then he went on to do
talking about
Sons of
Ryan,
Anarchy. Is it
what's
Ryan
not Ryan
Hurst?
Hurst,
I think Ryan,
Reynolds. Not
not
Ryan
Ryan
Reynolds.
Reynolds. No, it's not Ryan Reynolds.
Gosh, what am I thinking?
There's
Gosling.
phenomenal actors in there. So, but he went on to
Ryan
play. I'm a big,
Gosling.
not Ryan. Well, Ryan Gosling's in it, but no. So the guy who gets paralyzed, his friend.
Oh,
That's Ryan. He's the new. He's the new God of War. He's Kratos.
okay.
He was Beta in Walking Dead. He was in Sons of
Yes.
Anarchy. So that guy went on, and he's in some really brutal, awesome roles. He's even in. He's a character in We Were Soldiers that I liked with Mel Gibson. And so
Nice.
I've really been a fan. I think it's Ryan Hurst is his
We
name.
Were
But yeah,
Soldiers,
I
man.
forget that Ryan Gosling was like that nerdy
Yeah.
little
He was
cornerback.
the
You forget about that.
nerd.
So yeah, Remember the Titans,
Straight up
phenomenal
nerd.
movie. Great sports movie. So you're gonna put that one. So you'll put that over, I would say football. I'm trying to think of maybe I did like Longest Yard. I like the Burt Reynolds Longest
And Friday
Yard.
Night Lights was all
Friday Night
right.
Lights. Yeah,
I
but
like
yeah,
I like
Remember
the
the
new
Titans?
Longest Yard. I like
The
the
remake
new
with,
one.
yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, with Adam Sandler, had some of his old
And
his
they
fun
honored
little
Burt Reynolds,
counterparts.
like they
Yep.
brought Burt Reynolds in. Like it wasn't just a complete recreation of the story. It was a continuation of it, essentially. I love when they do that with like remakes. Like it's the same story, but it's in a different generation. So they bring in the old guys to still be a part of it. And I think that's important when you do a remake, man.
Yeah.
Especially
No.
especially iconic remakes like that.
Nope. No, you're right. And you got to pay respect, legacy characters, all that kind of stuff. That's got to
Yeah.
be really hard to do, not just remakes, but or just reboots and things like that. We've chatted like that. So for me, for my last, I can't do Remember. I keep following you, so it's like Remember the Titans was kind of one of them. But I'm gonna go like a weird little movie that I love, the story Warrior with Joe
Okay.
Edgerton and Tom Hardy. Have you seen that one?
I have.
Yeah, I just love that whole movie. And I'm not gonna say it's not gonna be in anybody's top 20 sports. I could go with Field of Dreams. I could go Bull Durham. I go tons of
See,
baseball
look, I
movies.
have a
I could
hot
go
take
Fever
about Field of
Pitch.
Dreams.
I even like Fever Pitch with what's his name of all people. Like I think it encapsulates the Red Sox fandom quite well.
Sure.
And so there's movies like that, F1, but I'm going to go Warrior just because it's just an awesome story about these two brothers. And it was right when UFC was really picking up its stuff. It made me actually, I had a bunch of buddies who loved that kind of stuff. So it got me in. The movie side will usually get me into, you make a movie about something you love, I can get into
But
it
yeah,
because
you get
I've
into it
seen
for
it,
sure.
I can get into it. So I wouldn't put Warrior. It's just a movie that I love. I was torn between that and Fighter. Have you seen Fighter with
I have. The Fighter's
yeah,
great too.
so those are two big ones. But I gotta have like I want comedy. Had a little bit action packed. So
Yeah.
How about you? Final Mount
Well,
Rushmore.
baseball was such a huge part of my life, so I'm gonna end up picking two baseball movies. But
Okay,
you have the poster right behind your head. You're killing me, Smalls, with some
there you
Sandlot.
go. Sandlot. There you go.
Sandlot's iconic, man. Like every people tried to recreate that. I don't even know how they kind of captured lightning in a bottle with that entire cast of kids. You know,
Heck
every
yeah.
single one of them were perfect for the role that they played. Like that was so. I believe that's also another Randy Newman score. Let's see. I'm gonna Google it. All right,
Yeah.
who scored Sandlot?
Randy
But it's
Newman.
not Randy Newman. David Newman,
David Newman, one of the brothers.
his brother.
Yeah. So the Newman, you were talking about
So,
that. The Newmans.
So think about, so we got the Sandlot and then Mighty Ducks. I think he also did the Mighty Ducks. Like
That's a
he did
good one.
all of the Disney sports movies that we watched growing up.
Sure. Yep.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, no, that is. And then I'm kind of liking, I forget his name, but he's pretty fun. If you ever watch him on YouTube, he's got some pretty funny videos and things like that. He's killing it right now. This
Patrick
actor's
Renna?
name. Yeah, is that Patrick right there?
Ham?
From Killing Me
Yeah,
Smalls.
Patrick
Yeah,
Renna.
yeah. So he's doing some real fun stuff, and he's pretty funny to watch. So.
We reached out to him to try to be in pickleball. It didn't work out.
Really?
Schedules
Oh,
didn't work
man.
out, but I wanted him so
Yeah,
bad
that'd
for
be freaking-
something, because he has like a lot of videos online about pickleball and stuff.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had like this I think one of his is so funny. He was like, getting all the gear on to play pickleball. He's like, all right, we're gonna go outside. We're gonna get some exercise. And then they go, and it's just a wide shot cut of like four people standing on the edge of a kitchen and just dinking and like barely moving.
That's funny. He's pretty clever. That makes it so we're gonna wrap things up with one more little segment I'm gonna do with a lot of people that come on called blank check. But before we do that, who is someone from your childhood that you would have a hard time not geeking out over if they did show up in one of your films? You know what I mean?
Man,
You know what I mean? If they came on, and this is not to disparage anybody else that comes into your films or say that they're not important, nothing like that. But just someone that, I don't know, man. I'm trying to think, and if yeah, if Robert Redford just said you wanted to play catch with me, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
right,
You know what I mean?
right,
Hey kid, you want to play or something like that.
yeah,
You just think about these scenes growing up, and these people. So is there somebody where you would have a hard time not being starstruck? You've seen stars
man.
and you've been around,
So it
but
would
would there be someone?
for me, it wouldn't be an actor, but
Okay,
it would be a director, and it would
okay,
be if Steven Spielberg said, "Hey, can you come direct one of my movies?" I
oh,
would I would fall off a cliff. You know what I
poop your
mean? Like,
pants.
yeah, or Ron
Be like,
Howard, or
yeah,
somebody like that would
okay,
bring me on, somebody at that level. But I think between the two, I would say Steven Spielberg. I mean, the dude literally drove the film industry to where it is today with the technology, and I mean, James Cameron had a hand in it too, but the things that Steven Spielberg was doing in storytelling, I mean, every movie he did was a massive blockbuster. Like, he knew how to tell a story, and he still does today. But it's like, yeah, if I got to work with him, I think that would floor me.
yeah. That trailer for Discourse Day, my wife and I, we'll go to different movies. We saw Project Hail Mary last week, and that trailer, and when Emily
I wanna
Blunt's just
see
is
it.
there, yeah, when Emily Blunt's just there on that, and so now her and I will try to talk to each other like that, like she'll be, and so
That's awesome.
we're pretty excited about that one. So that's Spielberg's new one, Project Hail Mary. If you haven't seen it, it's so friggin' good, so
Yeah,
good.
it's on a watch
I was
list.
yeah. So we're gonna go into another question before we go into blank check. So a lot of movies, you were talking about how they have to kind of rewrite and keep doing the same plot over and over again. We've talked about in the past. Is there a movie that you've watched recently and not in the theater? So let's go back to shout out to maybe some people who have thrown some streaming films. A movie you've watched in the last maybe 6 months to a year where you couldn't pick up your phone was down. You were locked in, whether it be from your technical side, like, ooh, I kind of like what they're doing with the lighting here, or just a movie. Cause, a lot of times, Netflix these days, it's easy for us to, like when I'm watching
Right.
something Christina picks, I'm just like, okay, all right. All right. Who's she in love with? Who's she with this time? You right. But is there a movie where you're like, man, I was engaged? Anything
Yeah.
like that stick out to you?
I don't know if it's been a movie, but it's a series that probably could have been cut into a movie, because there's only 6 episodes and they were 30 minutes long, but
I knew
Night
you
of
were
the
gonna talk
Seven
this in.
Kingdoms.
Yeah, I knew you love that. Yeah, we
Night
talked
of the
about
Seven
that.
Kingdoms, man, like, I still hold to this day. Episode 5 is probably the best episode in television history of anything. Just the way that they told that story, also kept so true to the source material. That's one thing I
Yeah,
don't understand when people get, like, a rich source material and then they try to retcon a lot of the characters
yeah,
or write out this person or that person. It's like, dude, it's already got a rabid fan base. Stay there.
yeah,
Stay in your lane. Like,
yeah, yeah,
this, just convert it to a script. And Ira Parker with Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the way that he did that whole thing and told that whole story. I mean, I was like thrown into the world of Westeros for like a solid 3 months. Like, I was nerding out watching every YouTube video I could watch to be like,
dude,
what do
that's
I not
funny.
know about this story? But yeah, he could have easily made that to a movie. But episodics, man, I think are where the future is when it comes to movies and content that's streamed. Taylor Sheridan's killing it with a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, for something that just really got me so engaged between storytelling, cinematography, action, lore, everything, it would have to be Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
No, you got me hooked on that. So we were talking about that when you asked me to be on your podcast, and we got to talking. You were hyping that up, and I was like, man, I liked House of the Dragon, but I just, there was nothing that got me too excited about checking out season two. It had good stuff.
Yeah.
Still disappointed with Game of Thrones, the final season. We chatted about that. But man, I checked out Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and you're right. That fifth episode was so amazing. Did you see like Asmodeus from like some people started giving bad reviews of Breaking Bad to try to get it from 10 to 9.9, so they're tied? Yeah, like as I think it's called as Moses. I think Breaking Bad had the record for the best rating of all time, but then
Yeah,
people
of
were
course.
trying to get yeah, and then but yeah, you're right. I think of all Game of Thrones episode that episode 5, and it's phenomenal. And that kid they got to play Egg. Both of
Dude,
them are
so good, man.
phenomenal, but that
They work
kid,
so good
I
together.
mean, they did
Well, you
so
know,
good. My
the actor who plays Dunk, he was like a rugby player like a year and a half ago. He's a professional rugby player.
Yeah, like he was so good, and they both their chemistry was just
Yeah.
off the charts. It was
I can't wait for
what
season 2, to be honest with you.
oh yeah,
And
yeah. My
but what I love about it, I think what I love the most about it is obviously it sits in the Game of Thrones universe, but it's authentically created. Like it doesn't rely on VFX. I think that's even a lot of issues with even indie films. Like they're, well, let's fix it in post kind of a thing. No, they sat there, they planned it out, they did it all right there on set, and so everything looks so real. It looks, so authentic when you're watching it. It's just classically done.
yeah,
And I think movies have to fight to get back there because there's so much with the advent of AI and stuff. You're going to see producers and even directors who haven't operated in AI or operated, some of the VFX channels that are coming out now. They're going to be like, "Oh, it's just so easy. We can fix it later. We can just fix it later with a push of a
yep,
button." It's not going to look the same, and it's not going to feel the same than as if you captured the moment right there on set. If
yeah.
you did everything in your power to capture the moment on set. And that's one of the things too that I'm so excited about this horror movie that's coming out a little later this year was we made sure to capture everything on set. So easy to just create, like kills and things like that that weren't like we didn't have like the proper tools and sets, or like somebody's running and just try to fake it and try to no, we actually went to the locations. We actually filmed in the woods. We actually filmed in this crazy house that looks like it should be haunted, right? And I had to sleep there for 7 nights, by the way. So
Oh, wow.
kind of a crazy
Yeah,
situation.
that'd be a
That's how
little
low
freaky.
budget it was. I was sleeping on set. But yeah, no, when movies can get back to their roots, I think simpler is always going to be better. If you don't have the money to do it, then don't do it. Just tell the story, you know? You don't need the
Yeah.
big grandiose over the top stuff.
I think, I know we can talk about this in another episode, but with AI, you see a lot of these videos and shorts where people can take these crazy situations and now we can see them. Like there's a fight scene between Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt
Yeah,
on a roof. And it's not the greatest fighting, but I think what people want is on my side of the screen, we want characters that we root for and we care about. And CGI can take away from that. It can happen. Like, listen, I don't want to see the old, I think it's Roger McCorman's Fantastic Four, right? Like, I don't, like,
yeah.
that was a really bad special effects.
So,
That, and it was so bad, you can't even remember the story. But there's
yeah,
such good stories that were told that just didn't have, that had too much ambition. And that's where CGI, that's where that can enhance it. And we can go back and say, hey, these writers, this group was onto something with this particular movie. Let's take that because it
right.
needed that. Like a lot of the fantasy worlds, like a lot of Dungeon and Dragons, things like that, right?
And
It
we're working
needs
on one.
that.
Yeah, we're working on right now is a low budget fantasy movie where AI is going to drive a lot of the effects, but
Okay.
it's not going to replace the action. It's still there. Like it's still been filmed,
Sure.
these characters were still there on set. And that's what's amazing about what AI can do. Like it cannot, I don't think it's ever going to get to a place where it's going to fully replace movies. Of course I say that. But I also had a conversation the other day with somebody. I said, my only thought is there is a place where it could. And the reason why, and I don't want to knock Taylor Swift, but Taylor Swift's the #1 country artist in the world. People just want over the plate. They want simple. They don't want authentic. They don't want real.
Oh
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And
no, I
and
hear
it's
you.
that same audience that fills that arena and pays $1,600 for, a nosebleed ticket for a Taylor Swift tour, right? Is going to be the ones that ingest these AI movies in the next 3 to 5 years with lifeless eyes in characters that are not conveying true emotion. That's the one thing that I can see
Sure.
that can be an issue. But what it does in the AI, what AI does now in the VFX pipeline, because a lot of like I'm playing around in Comfy UI and a lot of these AI softwares that
Okay.
allow you to have a little bit more control, although you're still using AI and language models and things like that to be able to drive an image or drive an animation from an image that you either took or created. But
Okay.
what it also allows you to do is take your footage, ingest it, and then be able to enhance the moments that would have taken me it would have taken me 3 weeks to do this VFX shot.
Yeah.
And yes, I
Mhm.
can do it. I mean, it's gonna take so long to do all the tracking, to do all the rotoscoping, like all these crazy things. But now I can ingest my vision into this machine. I still need to know comping. I still need to know VFX, but it allows me to enhance what I had the tool set to do to a little bit more of a higher level.
Okay.
That's where I think AI is going to really dominate in movies. It's not going to replace the actor. It's going to enhance those moments that would have taken a team so long to do. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, and I would like to, so hopefully maybe later this summer, I could have a couple of you guys on where we can kind of talk about, maybe debate AI. Because on my side, hey, I just want a good story.
Right.
I want to laugh. I want the fight scenes. I don't want six fingers punching. AI
Right.
needs to, right?
Just some random.
You know what I mean? So I want some believability, but I still want to
Hey,
care, right? That
this
kind of
is
stuff.
this is funny. So I had to do this. I had to do this shot. Like I'm using AI. I had to do this. It's just a dolly shot through a nursery for this documentary. It's all I needed. And I
Yeah.
said the prompt I gave it was cinematic camera movement. Slow push in. And so it generated the shot. Some dude is walking by on a camera dolly, pushing the camera literally through the shot. I'm like, I don't. You did what I
So it
wanted you to
took it
do.
too literal and had the camera guy push in too. That's pretty funny,
Literally
actually.
pushing a camera. I was like, "Dadgummit, that's not exactly what I was looking for."
Yeah, yeah. Well, a
But
lot of
but you
times
get
I
it,
guess
yeah.
it is about the prompts. The better you are with prompts, I'm hearing, because
Yeah,
like,
but
go
you
ahead.
could put your prompt in ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT how to prompt the other, like, it's AI talking to AI, like, "What do I need to tell this guy?" You know what I mean? It's so crazy.
Yeah, and I can't, on my side, like, listen, when you asked me to do that, and I told you what I was thinking about this podcast, and we were messaging back and forth in IM, or yeah, Facebook Messenger for a while. You told me about this site. Well, AI helps me have the confidence because I don't know how to edit. Like when we
Yeah,
get done, so if people are watching this, if you thought about podcasting, this site, Riverside, I'm not getting paid to promote this. Jeff isn't getting paid to promote this. But what this site does is I'm a one-man team. Like I'm the one that's coming up with the direction. I'm the one reaching out to people. And what it'll do is once we stop, it's going to load everything up for me. AI is going to help me figure out different things. It's going to walk me through the process. I can learn to do it manually, but it can give me advice or it'll do some of it for me. It's given me the confidence to just try. I've always wanted to talk movies.
yeah,
I've always had this heart conversation. And so anyway, I'm not anti AI, but I can see where some people can be concerned. So I'd love, maybe down the road
mhm,
we get a couple of different guys and we can
sure.
just kind of debate and just talk about AI. So we're going to finish this up with called blank check. So what I'm going to do
Blank
is, and
check.
I've let Jeff know. So blank check is, I am the Elon Musk of the movie industry. Instead of taking
Okay,
over Twitter, instead of taking over X and making X better for my own gain, I want movies better for my own gain. And so I am going to infuse $300 billion into Hollywood and its industry. And so I have asked Jeff, I am going to get him a blank check and he is going to make me a story. He's going to hire the actors and spare no expense. And so we've chatted about this. So blank check, give me a story or a movie that you have always wanted to do. Give me some actors you'd love to be in it. Hire yourself as director and save me some money. I'm not paying you 20 billion. So, but you know what I mean? So have some fun. But what
sure.
is something that Jeff Hamm would do if he has a blank check?
Man, whatever you tell me to do. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Um, what does the
Talladega
studio
Nights
want?
2. Hook
Tell
2, Jeff. I want Hook
Yeah.
2.
We're doing Hook 2, baby. We're
Oh,
taking it all the
Rufio's
way
got to,
back.
you got to give me a believable Rufio has come back to life
No,
story.
Rufio's
Okay.
done,
Yeah,
but he had
yeah.
a kid. He had a kid with a mermaid, so it's
There you
kind of this
go.
weird thing.
Oh, that's
Um,
going to get weird. It's not going to be Disney. It's going to be rated R. Okay.
yeah, no, for sure. That's actually, there's a lot of, dark Disney movies coming out
Heck
right
yeah.
now.
We've talked about that. So like the killer Mickey Mouse. I saw one. I want to watch it so bad. I think it's on Tubi. It's like Popeye. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
Popeye the Slayer.
My
So I
buddy
want
does a
to,
few of them too. I think he
yeah,
did
yeah.
Rumpelstiltskin. But I used to work for the distribution company that's doing a lot of those things. So I used to do a lot of their movies. You'll see them on my IMDb. But that same distribution company kind of kicked everything off with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which is so wild that
Yeah, no, they
I think they
made
made
so
that
much
movie
money.
for like $50,000 and it ended up netting like $50 million. It's one of
Oh,
those like it's one of those like you hit the jackpot. It's almost like Paranormal Activity when they made it for like $30,000 or twenty
heck
five
yeah.
thousand dollars, and it ends up making like millions and millions in the box office and still blowing up even to this day. That's one of the
Sure,
genres that you can really make a lot of money for a little less and for a lot less of an investment. The horror genre is
sure.
so like their fan base is so rabid. They just
Oh,
love
I
it. They'll
love it. Like,
ingest
listen, I
everything.
have seen way too many. Actually, the last movie that I've watched that I put my phone down was just
Mhm.
this little straight to DV movie called Killing Me Again, and it's just about
Yeah,
like a serial killer at a diner, and he just keeps
yeah,
reliving and having. And he's trying to figure out, does he have to kill everybody? Does he, And it's like it's not super comedy, but it's just crazy. It's like. And I was just like, and Christina's like, why do you like this so much? I was like, I don't know, man. There's just something about, I like any type of thing you love that's new, you know?
yeah,
So I like infusing a different like Groundhog's Day into Happy Death Day. Like that was awesome.
yeah. That's crazy.
Freaky Friday when Vince Vaughn and Kate, the girl from the new Ready or Not To, when they switch bodies and Vince Vaughn's now a teenager and she's so stuff like that I like. So all right, so blank
Yeah,
check.
blank
You've
check.
got this check. What are you giving me? What are you giving me and my audience, Jeff?
So I don't want to tell you the one that I really want to do because I don't want anybody to steal the idea.
Okay, I
But
like that. I think is it the one that we were talking about? You're gonna keep that to yourself?
no, the one that we were talking about, I think last time was or maybe I don't know if we have talked about it or not, but
Grandpa.
that was one of them.
That was one
Yeah.
of okay, so that you're giving me something new. Okay, all right.
No, 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 that's the one that I'll
Okay,
tell you about, but the one I
okay,
won't
nice.
tell you about,
Okay,
I'm
is the
keeping
other
that one
one.
in my back pocket.
Okay,
Yeah, no,
okay.
the story of my great-grandfather, he was a professional boxer in the 20s and 30s, was funded by the Dallas Mafia, which you guys might know. Like, a lot of people don't understand that the Dallas Mafia was just as big as, like, Chicago, New York, all that stuff. It was an arm of the same monster, but it was in North Texas.
Okay,
And so my great-grandfather, his, contract was purchased by Benny Binion and also, was professional boxer. He was in the featherweight division, but his family had no money, so he literally hopped a train to come from Kansas City to Dallas, got picked up on a boxing contract. They made him change his name from Ira Orland to Ted Way because Ted sounded more American than Ira Orland. It's
yeah, yeah,
like the mafia guys made him do this. These were the managers, the guys that had the money that were funding all the boxing. And you guys know it still happens even to this day in sports. There's a lot of money involved in sports in whether somebody wins or
yeah.
loses.
Heck yeah.
And even back then in the 20s and 30s, I mean, boxing will deny it until the end of time, but they were getting paid to throw matches. They were getting paid, to because they were dominating the gambling circuit, and that was more important than who won or who lost. And so, my grandfather was involved in a lot of that, but he made his money for the sole purpose of, keeping his family afloat. He didn't fight for
Yeah.
fame, glory, or anything like that. He literally fought to make sure his family kept their head above water financially. And so every dime that he made, he actually sent it back to Kansas City. So every time he'd pick up another fight, either whether it was in Texas or it was out of state or whatever, he'd hop trains like a hobo.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I don't want to give the whole story away, but
Sure.
yeah, he ended up getting gravely injured and not being able to box anymore for the rest of his life, but he still had to stand up to the Dallas Mafia who were trying to milk him for every dime that they
Yeah.
could possibly get. So it was a
So
pretty
who
cool story.
so who would you get to play, which it would probably be even more emotional for you because this is a family story. This is something that you've talked to family members about. So who would you hire? Doesn't matter how much it costs me to get them for you. Who are you hiring to be your great grandfather?
Timothy Chalamet. No, I'm just kidding. Love me some Timothy Chalamet. Oh, man, that's a good question. Because you always go back to like, if you get a big, big actor, yeah, he's gonna sell it. But when you think of like some of the biggest movies that have actually made actors,
Sure,
um,
sure.
and that's something that I would probably have to sit on for a little bit. Like, do I just find this stellar up and coming that is like one movie away from being an absolute star, or do we go ahead and get a star just because I know it's going to sell? But if we have a blank check, I know the marketing money's there, so I'm probably going to find somebody and make them a star. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah,
so
you
it's
can do
like,
that. There's nobody
and then I
currently
would
that you
surround him. and then I
Yeah.
would surround him with talent.
So you might want your great grandfather to be a no name so that the focus is on the character itself instead of like it's
Mhm.
like Tom Cruise is just playing Tom Cruise. He's not playing your great grand. So
Right.
I understand that element. And so I would get that. But think about like Russell Crowe, he nailed that role, but he was already that wasn't a
Yeah, he was already
that didn't make him, you know what I'm
Gladiator.
saying? And that didn't
Right.
make him. So there are guys who can really there are actors who can get that
Sure.
genre. They can get that era, that time frame.
And
So
I
no
could be
actors in mind like
wrong.
your great grandmother or who would be your bad guy? Who would be like so I'm assuming so there's probably a point of contact like a bruiser, but then the smart ass, kind of like gangster doubt, and then he's got his big
Yeah,
old minion. Who's gonna be like your antagonist? Do you have somebody in mind like because if you're gonna do a no name, like, I'm gonna
yeah,
make this guy a star, I would
yeah,
think we would
you
want
gotta
that
go
villain. I'm
you
still
gotta
gonna
go
write you the
big name
check, Jeff,
for
but
yeah.
I want a big villain. Who's my
You
villain?
gotta throw into, like, some of the old school Martin Scorsese mafia movies, like, who's the big mafia guy? You got your, Joe Pesci, your Robert De Niro, your types of guys. So, Joe Pesci would probably be perfect, you know what I mean? Like, somebody
Yeah, it's
like
one of
that.
somewhere in there. Yeah, yeah, Joe Pesci. I'm trying to think of who would be freaking good for like because you're talking Texas Mafia.
But it's still the same. It's still
But it's still guys so is Tex so the Dallas Mafia, they're still Italian type, they're still like New York Mafia, they're just coming over to
Mhm.
Texas. So you gotta play somebody who's like out of it's kinda almost like Tulsa King
Not
type of
city,
stuff, but
but still city, being able to
yeah,
deal with, ranchers and Texas Rangers, that was a huge
sure.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, but also, very business-minded, but very cutthroat.
Okay.
So there's a different level than just standard New York City mafia.
Okay. Now are you bringing in yourself as director, or you got somebody that's gonna be
Sure.
on with you? So, okay, you're the
I would
director,
definitely
okay.
direct.
Alright, who are you bringing in to be your cinematographer? Who's gonna be your director of photography that's gonna help you, and it's gonna get you out of your own head because you're personally attached? And so sometimes that's good, but I would think sometimes for certain scenes, I might say, "Hey, I know you really want this," but, who's somebody
If
where
I
you're like,
had
"Yeah,
unlimited budget, I'd
you
go
do.
Roger
I am
Deakins.
so rich." Who is it?
Roger Deakins.
Okay, Roger Deakins. Alright,
The man, the myth, the legend.
alright. So you're gonna get him. Who's gonna do your score for you? You gonna get yourself some,
You gotta go
Zimmer,
Hans
or
Zimmer.
you gonna go Hans Zimmer? Okay,
You
okay.
gotta go Zimmer. I mean, like, who did the score for Cinderella Man?
That's a good one. Cinderella Man had a really good score.
I gotta look that up.
Nerds, Cinderella Man score. That would be a good one.
That was Thomas Newman. Wow, another Newman.
Another Newman? Oh my
Yeah, that's
gosh, is he related
crazy.
for real?
That is a great question. That's something I'm gonna have to look up later because
James J. Braddock.
I think there's like 4 of them, but, I mean, yeah, that might end up being the guy right there,
I'm
but
gonna look more into them. You got me excited about someone who loves
the
music. I
Newman
might start
family?
looking up the Newmans because when I was growing up, my dad just had Randy Newman like his songs. Like he just had like cassette tapes when we would go on
Yeah,
drives. We listened to Randy Newman songs, and so this
yeah.
was before Toy Story and stuff. This is before he was a big household name. Because even that song, "You Have a Friend in Me," he didn't write that for Toy Story. So
No.
he was already established a star and had just funny
They
kind of
just they just
songs and stuff.
they just know how sports is supposed to sound. It's so crazy
There's an
to
emotion that
think,
yeah.
but they just know how sports is supposed to sound sonically.
Yeah, it has to be emotional because the problem with people who do not like sports, the issue they're going to have with sports movies is they've already lost out on the emotion. But then
Mhm.
that's where the music can bring them in. The music
Yeah.
can pump them up for that double or that home run or that lap because that's where music can really play off of that because we're not watching it in real time anymore because that's what we miss like when we watch a baseball game in real time we've got the in-game emotion or football games so movies they're already a step behind because they have to recreate something that they know is really hard our emotion in the moment and that's where I think music plays just such a pivotal role to bring me into that there are things that music can ruin the whole entire movie scenes
Mhm.
can like one of my favorite scenes of all time, Freebird in a church, Kingsman, Secret Service,
But
when he
yeah,
goes to dude, that's one of the best scenes and that music, just so phenomenal. Just everything about it, man. So
Kingsman's so
stuff
good.
like that. All right, so we've got your check. You've got your movie about your great grandfather. You're kind of playing coy with some of these names. Any other person, like an actress, somebody that you just want involved in your film. You don't know the role yet because I get it. Casting is you got to see how this guy reacts to this girl. You have to see all that. But everybody should have targets, right? These are the three people I want to come in first, right? So is there anybody that you're like, you know what? I don't know what role they're going to play, but I would love to interview or see a couple scenes with this particular. Is there someone that you're in love with now where you're like, man, I've got a blank check. I can get them in on this. Who would that be for you, Jeff?
Man, I'll say I don't think she fits this role, but I will say because it'd have to be in this age range. But like when you see Jenna Ortega outside of a Tim Burton movie,
Yeah.
she is so good.
Yeah.
She's
Have you
like
watched her in You? I liked her in You, her character in You.
she was in
The
You.
Netflix show You. Yeah, she's in You.
Jenna
This
Ortega
was
was
Jenny Ortega was in You, and I think it was before she really went off. She is one of the
really.
she is I think she's You season 3.
She's so if you watch Death of a Unicorn,
Yep,
have you
I've seen
seen that
Death of the
one?
Unicorn. Mhm.
She was so good. I was like, dude, like the rest of the movie is like
It's not, I'll be honest,
is
it's not
yeah,
up there
she
with
was
me
the
at all.
shining star in the entire thing, and I
Yeah.
just was like, "Dude, she is so good." Like,
No, my favorite.
she has so much depth as a female actress. Not saying that I mean, I think a lot of female actresses probably have more depth than male actresses. A lot of male actresses just come in and just broody. Females actually come from a state of
Sure.
emotion, which is, like, really great for their acting, but she has so much depth as an actor that I don't think really fully gets exhausted in Wednesday, which ironically, Wednesday is no emotions.
Yeah.
There's really not any depth in that at all. But in those types of movies, right, it's where the stoic just, don't really care, that kind of a
Yeah.
character.
So she's in second it's the second season of You, and
Okay,
that's my favorite character of hers. It's not
that's
Wednesday.
crazy.
My
I gotta
favorite
go back and
character of
watch that
her.
now.
Yeah, so if you rewatch You, she is a reporter's little sister. So he, like,
Okay,
befriends her. So, it's a character that he befriends, and so it's nothing like he's not on his target list or anything like that. You's about a serial killer for those who haven't watched Netflix, but really good
yeah,
kinda
we've watched
creative
every single
show.
episode.
Yeah,
That's my wife's
so
one of my wife's favorite shows.
she's season 2. She's the little sister of his neighbor that's the
Okay,
reporter, and she's really
all
good.
right.
She's got some big parts in it, so I'm surprised. She's the one that what's the
I don't think it.
comedian?
I just think it
Chris
didn't
D'Elia?
connect.
Chris D'Elia
Okay,
is a character that's, like, kinda, like, peddling on her and stuff, kind of
okay,
like, and then he got accused in real life, and that didn't happen,
yeah,
but, stuff like that. But, yeah, it's a pretty cool character, so I always liked her
yeah,
in that, so I was bummed that, I was bummed with all the political drama behind Scream, and Scream 7 didn't return her and her sister in the so Scream 7, but that was because the main character, she quit, and then Jenny quit in support of her friend in real life,
gotcha.
and then that's why they brought in Nev and redid the story. I haven't seen 7 yet. I'm going to eventually. I'm a big horror movie
You're a
fan.
big
Tonight we're
Scream
seeing
guy.
Ready or Not 2, so we're pretty excited about Ready or Not 2.
I do want to see that one. That one
Yeah,
does look good.
we're gonna $5 Tuesday nights. Don't judge me, people. I will spend top dollar on movies. I've seen many a Thursday night, midnight movies. I've
Hey,
gone to multiple movies, so I've
you
spent my
got to
money.
take the deals when they come, for
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah. So if you can't get to it, you have a wife who's not as excited about movies as you, $5 date night will get her to come with me. So I'm pretty excited. Jeff, thank you so much for this time. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. I felt like with my first episode, you gave me chance to be on yours, which really gave me the bug. So I'll always be grateful for that. So I wanted you to be in here. And so, what is something that people can see you immediately that you're proud of? Like, hey, if you guys could check out, I'd love for you to check this out on Prime. And then we got Pickleball coming out in June. And is Santa's List looking like Christmas time, of course, for
No,
season, or what are we looking like?
it's a s- it's a summer holiday movie, so
It's
it's Christmas in
2027,
July. No,
Christmas
it's
in
this year.
July. Oh, so it is this year. So you got
Yeah.
June, Pickleball, Santa's List. Now, is Santa's List, do you have a streaming site yet, or are you still working on all that?
Not yet. We do have
Okay.
distribution. Super interested. So, I'm hoping we get that figured out fairly soon. Our producer is on top of that, but I'm really excited to see that one come out. I think people are gonna really enjoy. If you're a horror fan,
Yeah.
horror movies are just different. Like comedy
Oh,
movies
yeah.
are hard. Comedy movies are hard. Horror movies are hard. Like all movies are hard, but like horror, like I don't know. There's something about a horror movie, man, that just it just it's different.
Yeah.
It's like authentic cinema when you go back to just putting people on the edge of their seats. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and hopefully you're giving me characters to care about. My big knock lately on horror movies is they're just not giving us characters that we care. Like, I don't care that they're dying, and if I don't care that they're dying, it doesn't help. Then you have to do gore porn. You know what I mean? Like you have to
Right, right.
like if I don't care about the death scene, then what do you have to do? Make it this
I'm
crazy,
hoping
crazy death scene. And so
I'm
sometimes,
hoping you
and that can be
do.
fun, but yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm
yeah,
hoping you do. We spend a lot of time with the characters that I can't
awesome.
reveal anything, but you spend a lot of time with a lot of the characters, the most important ones anyways.
Well,
And so we did take the time for some character development there.
great. Well, when we get closer to July and when Santa List is getting closer, we stay in contact anyway. We're Facebook friends, so we'll keep you in mind. We'll get you back on. We'll talk Mount Rushmore of horror. We'll have some
There
fun
we
with
go.
Santa's List. Maybe we'll just do Christmas movies, which is super easy for me to come up with four.
Man, look,
Yeah,
I got porch
You got
fires
your porch
behind me.
pirates. There you go. There you go.
Yep.
So, where can people check you out personally? Like, do you have an X for Red Plaid Films, like at Twitter, like not X rated, but you know, what I mean, it's so hard to call it X now. So,
Yeah.
but you have where can people check you out? Hollywood Podcast is one place I know for sure.
Mhm.
You can check
Yep.
Jeff Hamm out. He has this really awesome first guest, and then he's got,
Yeah.
but he's got better guests because they're the ones who are in the industry that he's worked with. So where is so Howdywood,
Yeah.
HOWDY Wood podcast. Where else can people check you out and stay in contact with you or check your work out?
Sure. I've got redplaidfilms.com. It has a lot of my filmography and stuff that's out, stuff that's upcoming, needs to be updated. Somebody's been a little busy lately. And then my Instagram is at Jeff Scott Ham. TikTok's at Jeff Scott Ham. You'll find me more on Instagram than anywhere else. TikTok, I usually just scroll through and watch people cook food mostly.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm more active Facebook, Instagram. That's usually where I live. Those are my socials, my social circles.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Jeff, thank you so much. And for all of you, if you hear this, if you see this on YouTube or Spotify, my name is Dustin Jones, just a huge fan. Appreciate you taking this little journey with us as we just talk movies, talking from both sides. Hopefully this is something that people will get excited about, where we can just hear what goes on with people from the other side of the screen, give us a perspective of how hard it can be, but also just help maybe our enthusiasm can get them more in love and it be more than just a job. And we just want great film, all of us on both sides of the screen. We want great film. We want great entertainment. So thank you for this, and stay tuned we got a couple more episodes coming up with a cinematographer that Jeff has talked to, and a friend of mine who's put a horror comedy musical on Tubi. Horror comedy musical. And
That
so we've
sounds
got some
fun.
other things lined up. So thank you all so much. And I hope you have a blessed day and a blessed weekend. Thank you.
Awesome.